Maria Corazon Corre Cuanco Aquino was born in Panique, Tarlac on January 25, 1933. She attended her high school here in the Philippines and later on went to the United States to continue her study in Notre Dame Convent School in New York. After her graduation, she also attended College of Mount St. Vincent in New York City for her undergraduate education. When she returned to the Philippines, she attended law school in Far Eastern University. Cory Aquino is married to Benigno Aquino Jr. He was a youngest member in the Senate. Her family moved to Boston for 3 years after her husband was in prison. She didn't originally plan to run for president, but people encouraged her to do so and she won the election on February 7, 1986. Teodoro T. Diboy Lopez Locsin Jr. is a politician, lawyer, former journalist, and a presidential speechwriter for Cory Aquino in office of the president in year 1985 to 1992. He was born on 1984, November 13 in Manila. His father, Teodoro Locsin Sr., is also a publisher and also worked with other people. Corazon Aquino delivered her speech at the joint session of the United States Congress on September 18, 1986. She was urged to the lead of the Philippines after her husband was assassinated on August 21, 1983. She did the speech to seek help from the government of the United States to help the Philippines because of the foreign debt, poverty, and unemployment in the country, as an aftermath left by the previous administration. Cory's speech started as she mentioned on what his husband, Ninoy, went through when she was locked up and how tragic his death was. According to her, the government treated him badly as they tortured him instantly and threatened that he will be killed by execution. They also imposed him in trial for murder and other crimes. After being with his husband for over 3 years, he came back to the Philippines. Soon enough, they received the news that he was assassinated right before he stepped out of the plane. She also mentioned how the dictatorship during the time held a snap election, but still she was able to win and she regarded to it as the victory of people. She conducted her speech by saying thanks to America for helping her build a new democracy. The speech of the former President Corazon Aquino gave us the insight on how Filipinos struggle to attain freedom and between the insisted resistance from the past have inspired Filipino revolutionaries in our current era. It also gives clarification about what really happened during the time of Ninoy Aquino. The document described the struggle faced by Aquinos to help the Philippines achieve freedom. The document also mentioned about the debt incurred by the former government before Cory Aquino. This speech also shows how the dictatorship transformed into the democratic government. From its president down to its law, order, and rules, the document also mentioned the killing of Ninoy Aquino and the terror from torture and conviction during martial law. It showed the problem faced by Cory Aquino as soon as she became the president. For instance, the poverty and unemployment. The document mentioned 2 elections occurred after the death of Ninoy Aquino. His wife participated during the election and lost in the first election. During the second which his snap election, she became the president and declares democracy in the country. In my learning experience in this speech of Corazon Aquino, it gave us a sight on how democracy was fought in the line before and how the previous government treated its people. We can see the regime of Marcos through the speech of Cory, and we can all be aware of how strict it was. Maybe the journalist that doesn't have the freedom of speech. Lastly, it shows how Cory fought for the freedom and revolution of her people. Known by the name of Antonio Lombardo or Francisco Antonio Pigafetta. Pigafetta was born in a wealthy Finense family in 1491, indeed in the same city in 1534. In his youth, he studied astronomy, geography, and cartography. He was also an Italian seafarer and geographer. He joined the expedition to the Spice Island led by the explorer Ferdinand Magellan under the flag of King Charles I of Spain, and after Magellan's death in the Philippines, the subsequent voyage around the world. On 10 August 1519, 5 ships departed from Seville for what was to become the first circumnavigation of the globe, linked by the paint to the name of its captain Magellan. Much of the expedition is known through the travelogue of one of the few crew members who returned to Spain, Antonio Figafetta. A narrative and cartographic record of the journey, including 23 hand-drawn watercolor charts from Patagonia to Indonesia, from the Philippines to the Cape of God Hope. Pigapita, the first voyage around the world, is a classic of discovery in exploration literature. The description of the first voyage reflects the early lives of Visayan ancestors. Political significance shows that even before the pre-colonial Philippines had its own political system and economic system, they had a barter system where they exchange their good for something that they want or need. On March 16, 1521, Magellan and his crew arrived in the Philippines island for what they called as Island of Ladroni. They first reached the island of Samal or Samar on March 18. There came some natives giving sign of joy for the presence of the crew of Magellan. The native Filipinos did welcome the foreigners warmly. As described by Figapita, they exhibited great sign of pleasure of seeing us, seeing that the natives are reasonable men. Magellan gave them red cups, mirrors, comb, and other things. In return, the natives offer fish, wine, coconuts, and other resources. Magellan named the place Island Hopumuno as the archipelago of San Lazaros due to the several islands located in that district. Archipelago of San Lazaros was the primitive name of Philippines. Magellan succeeded in his plan to influence the fate of people on the island he was conquered. The first mass in our country happened on March 31 in Eastern Day. The first cruise was the set up in Masua or Limasawa as wished by Magellan for the benefits of natives. The native Filipinos have their idols before and God which called Abba, but they threw this belief away as they embraced Christianity, which Magellan introduced. Magellan and his crew went to Cebu on April 7. Upon hearing good reports about the island from the king of Masua, they are not immediately warmly welcomed, for they were asked to pay tribute. But Magellan refused to do so. There was a negotiation through a notary. The king of Cebu asked for a drop of their blood as a sign of their friendship. Both agree. On Cebu, the crafting power to influence the fate of people worked. It is only known document about Lapu-Lapu's life. Due to the daily notes, Pigapita talked in details about the expedition that he wrote about. He is considered the best source today of the customs and usage of Filipinos in early 16th century. A primary source account assigned is understanding how early Filipinos lived. Several daughters are said to have joined force with the Europeans. As a result, we can conclude that the societies of varying sophistication existed in Philippines prior to Magellan expedition. It emphasized the native generosity and hospitality to the expedition team. After all, there might not have been circumnavigation if the locals of Homonhon Island had not offered food and water to Europeans, and ships' ration had not been replenished from local sources. The emphasis on hospitality as supposedly became Filipino national character. Quality adds other layer traditional meat making that could shape the next 500 years of Philippine history. It helps us understand how Filipino lived in the past and how they dealt with Magellan and his men when they arrived in the Philippines. The Christianity as the larger religion in the world was propagated in the Philippines by Ferdinand Magellan. The faith of the natives before is just about raising hands and clapping, but different image of their idols. Until Magellan introduced Christianity to them, it was accepted in practice by Filipinos and has been considerable part of the cultures and beliefs. Through the analyzing and examining the document became the fall of my knowledge in understanding of the pre-colonial in the Philippines, which is a great help in my study and understanding phase in our own history. The first voyage around the world by Antonio Pigafetta has different kind of analysis and has different important depending in the occurrence of the situation. Pigafetta texts play a major role in understanding the Philippine history, especially during its pre-colonial period. It can be considered as the most credible and most detailed historical source in the study of Philippine history. Ambrosio Rianzares Bautista, the author of the Declaration of Philippine Independence, and was the one who read it during June 12, 1989. Independence Proclamation was born on December 7, 1830 at Binan, Laguna, and died on December 4, 1903. He studied law at the University of Santo Tomas, obtained a degree and practiced his learning in Manila. He also gave advice to Dr. Jose Rizal during high school days in Manila. He socialized funds to support a campaign for reforms and later became a member of La Liga Filipina, Cuerpo de Compromisarios in La Propaganda. He was arrested and jailed at the Fort Santiago by the Spaniard during the outbreak of the revolution. He was later released from prison. He also became Emilio Aguinaldo advisor before he was replaced by Apolinario Babini. Ambrosio Rianzares Bautista wrote and read the Act of Declaration of Independence of the Filipino people on June 12, 1988, wherein a passage in the Declaration remind one of another passage in American Declaration of Independence. It also includes list of grievances of Filipinos against the Spanish government. The document was read together with the first official hosting of the Philippine flag and flying of the Philippine national march in public. 19 persons signed the document, and one of those was an American Army officer who witnessed the proclamation. The document shows how Filipino revolutionary force proclaimed in sovereignty and independence of the Philippine island from the colonization of Spaniards. General Emilio Aguinaldo, the Philippine first Republican president and the head of the Republic of Biak na Bato, declared the Philippines' independence and sovereignty from Spain after 300 years of colonial oppression. Aguinaldo and his generals agreed to accept exile in Hong Kong in return to financial resources and the welfare of the Philippines. They immediately withdrew and the Philippine Revolution was kept on hold for the time being during late 1897. Subsequently, on May 1, 1898, the battle at the Manila Bay broke out. Simultaneously, the Spanish-American War, in which the Spaniards were vanquished, resulting in the pronouncement that being acknowledged by the Spaniards or the Americans due to the Treaty of Paris, in which the Philippines were given over to the Americans by Spaniards, and sharing in the era of American colonization that persisted for 48 years. Eventually, General Emilio Aguinaldo and his army arranged an arrangement with the United States, wherein they were granted permission to return to the Philippines, in return for supporting them in struggle against the Spaniards. Following, the generals arrived with his army back to the country on May 19, 1898. The Declaration of Independence takes place on June 12, 1898. Upon the balcony of General Emilio Aguinaldo's home in Cavite, El Viego, or also known as Kawit, Cavite. On this day and the age, the crowd erupted in applause as the Philippine national anthem started playing. Currently, with the ceremonial unfolding of the Filipino flag took place on the occasion, wherein the Filipino flag exhibit 3 yellow stars to represent the Philippines, 3 island group with the sun in the middle of it. That was inspired by Katipunan brothers, in the first 8 provinces to revolt were symbolized by the 8 rays of the sun. The Declaration of Independence is one of the most important milestones in Philippine history. The country was colonized by many nations for hundreds of years. Imagine achieving your freedom after all the hardship you had been through. It is priceless. Philippines Independence Day has been celebrated every June 12 since 1962. The original celebration used to be one on July 4, but then President Estado Macapagal changed the day to June 12 in commemoration of Emilio Aguinaldo's Declaration of Independence from the Spaniard. In turn, July 4 was declared as Philippine Republic Day or American-Filipino Friendship Day, when a treaty was made declaring the freedom of the Philippines from the United States. The celebration of Philippine independence is from May 28 to June 12, where all government establishments, residences, and other public squares are encouraged to display the country's flag. The country begins its celebration by displaying the national flag in various historical places nationwide. Independence Day reminds us of the recognition of Filipinos and show respect and appreciation to the memorial of the evolution that gave birth to our nation. It is also the day we remember the courage and sacrifice of our ancestors. Despite the several conquering of foreign countries to the Philippines, Filipinos didn't stop until they achieved freedom. Our freedom is priceless. The treaty made by the different countries to the Philippines did not enable them to win over our country. Regardless of how many times someone tries to take over our country, we will not let our precious country be claimed by them. Alfred McCoy, born on June 8, 1945 in Concord, Massachusetts, United States, he is a professor of Asian History at the University of Wisconsin and Madison, where he also served as director of the Center for Asian Studies. He spent the first quarter century writing about the politics and history of the opium trade. McCoy has spent the 30 years writing about the Southeast Asian history and politics. His publications include the Philippine Cartoons, Anarchy of Families, Closer Than Brothers, Manhood at the Philippine Military Academy, and Lives at the Market. After earning a PhD in Southeast Asian history at Yale, the writing of McCoy on the region has focused on the two topics: Philippine political history and global opium trafficking. The Philippines remains the major focus of his research. His teaching interests include modern Philippine social and political history, U.S. foreign colonial affairs in Southeast Asia, illicit drugs trafficking, and CEE convert operations. Philippine political cartoons gained full expression during the American era. Filipino artists recorded national attitudes toward the coming of Americans, as well as the changing mores in times, while the 337 cartoons compiled in this book speak for themselves. Historian Alfred McCoy's extensive research in Philippine and American artworks provides a comprehensive background not only to the cartoons but to the turbulent period as well. Artist-writer Alfredo Roses, who designed the book, contributes an essay on the Philippine graphic satire of the period. It provides an important record documents of American era. They reflect the values, conflicts, and important issues in the society. It encourages us to process of the opinion formation and decision making, as well as provide entertaining perspective on the news. It represents the feelings of people willing to discuss political and social issues using arts. The future generation will be able to have a glimpse of the past of Philippine society through these cartoons. McCoy compilation of Philippine political cartoons give us a glimpse of the scandals, struggles, and social changes during the 4 decades of American colonial rule. The political cartoons play an important role in understanding the social and cultural situation of the Philippines during the transition from the Spanish to American colonization. The way of describing and illustrating the political events happened during the American colonization unveiled the artistic qualities of Filipinos, expressing their sentiments on political scenario during the time. In the cartoons, I can see the poor circumstances of Filipinos and the Philippines being governed by the United States of America. Looking at the big picture, the past and the present are not much contradicting. Most of us Filipinos are still a slave to something. such as capitalism in the present, police brutality, and many more social injustice. Emilio Jacinto was born on December 15, 1875, son of Mariano Jacinto and Josefa Daison. He went to a private school for his primary education and Colegio de San Juan de Letran for his secondary education. In his college school, in the University of Santo Tomas for his law studies, Emilio Jacinto dropped out of college at the age of 20. He joined the Katipunan, a secret revolutionary society. Emilio became the secretary of the one who reported directly to the leader of the Katipunan, who also became the chief advisor of fiscal matters concerning the society. He wrote the society newspaper called the Kalayaan. He was also referred to as the utak ng Katipunan, Dimas Ilaw, was his name. He was also known by the group of Umbencheana. Emilio Jacinto was in charge in creating the guidebook for new members, which called the Orpilla ng Katipunan. He died April 16, 1899 at the age of 24. The original version of the document has 14 paragraphs that contains the values that Katipuneros should possess. The name of the document was supposed to be Katungkulang Gawain ng mga Silib, Duties of the Son of the People. In 1986, Andres Bonifacio, the father of the Philippine Revolution and the once the president of the Supreme Council of the Katipunan, pinned the duties of the Son of the People, a list of duties and responsibilities to be continued strictly by every member of the organization. The rules constituted a decalogue and embodied Bonifacio's passionate beliefs. Katipunan stands for the kataas-taasang kagalang-galangang katipunan ng mga anak ng bayan, a revolutionary society that aims the independence and freedom of the Philippines from the oppressors. To those who want to join the Katipunan, they have a rules for those who wish to join the KKK. True love of the native land and genuine compassion for one another. The applicant should be renounce all act of evil, and he shall submit to the authority of the sacred commands of Katipunan. The relevance or contribution of the document in the Philippine history are the morals and intellectual foundation of our people than Filipinos, that they had a goal and set of rules, clearly a work of an intellect, thus show that our heroes has the intellectual capacity to rival those who have a better education. The documents also show the Filipinos have dignity and treat people equal. The fought we for our independence. My overall experience insight on primary source were that Filipinos have dignity and patriotism back then, that they value life and have noble stations, that our heroes did everything in their power to liberate us from our oppressors.